Hello, everyone. My name is Konst, and today we continue our customer success series, but we have a partner instead. So, Alex from Materialise and Goem specifically. So, welcome, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm really excited to be here.
First of all, great to have you on the show, of course. So, what we going to do today, I guess, is chat about from the different angle, chat about the same, our lovely manufacturing industry, of course. Chat about a couple things again regarding the automation, of course, regarding some customer stuff, of course, and yeah, just overall, I think I really want to share a lot of the thoughts about. Again, we just think 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we've been in the rapid. Of course, it's a lot of the things to think about, like what happens, what will happen in the next couple of years. So just a lot of the things happening in the world of additive manufacturing and just manufacturing in general. So
Sure.
I think a lot of the stuff to talk about. But yeah, so it would be great if you can introduce yourself, just share a bit more about, of course, not only your background and your current position, but also like where are the roots of your passion about the manufacturing. So when it went.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a roundabout way of getting into manufacturing, so I don't know if passion's going to be the right word, but yeah, my name's Alex. I'm an account executive here over at Materialise. I sell a software suite that ranges from build preparation and file repair all the way to the MES side of things. That can be things like order management, production scheduling, as well as machine monitoring. So really any tool set that can help you with your additive workflows is something I try to dabble around with. As far as how I got into manufacturing, I think, most people were in love with Legos or something when they were little, or, maybe they had an aerospace class in college and they got the big aerospace job. I did 3 years at UK in Kentucky and then ended up dropping out because I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And then during that year when I had dropped out, ended up working in a factory on a production floor. And so I built industrial heating and cooling units. I was waking up at 4 a.m. 6 days a week for a year straight, and I could not have hated it more. And so I had a bad attitude about it. I didn't want to be there. I was bitter that I dropped out of college. And as much as I disliked all of it, I think I came to respect the people who worked there and what we were doing. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me to get a dose of reality. And so ultimately, when I went back into college and got into sales, I think naturally I just kind of found myself back in this territory working with shops and shop floors and manufacturing, whether that be traditional or additive. So ended up selling custom CNC sheet metal injection molding at Xometry for a little bit. And then that turned into additive specific parts, which then turned into the software side of additive. And here we are today. So love was definitely not my path to manufacturing, but you can be dang sure that I respect it and have enjoyed being here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you just say about the Lego, of course, and that was my thing for sure in the young age. So I think I had like tons of Lego bricks, and I basically built pretty much everything except like not pretty much everything, but not following the instructions, of course. But basically,
Sure.
like I watching some movies, some TV series, and of course I try to recreate everything that I see. And I think it was the very nice TV series about the boat or boat on the steroids, basically. And I can't recall. I remember it was Hulk Hogan, of course, as the
Naturally, because who else would inspire you?
Exactly. So this is something that I built with the Lego bricks, of course. Awesome time. I don't think it was something that led me to manufacturing, because again, software by trade, software guy by trade, of course, and with a slice of marketing, of course. So yeah, but my way to the manufacturing also was through the very different stuff. Like, yeah, I run the machine shop at some point of time, of course, and then I started to realize that again, software angle to the manufacturer is more appealing to me than manufacturing itself.
Manufacturing is hard.
Manufacturing is very hard. It's very, very hard, of course. But again, still, of course, I appreciate all the people that, do this in manufacturing, like do the hard job. And again, like, for example, of course, Elon Musk many times said about that, that manufacturing is basically undervalued or underestimated or something like that. Because again, it's a hard thing to do. And it's something that, again, like even in the US, it's we have 20,000 of machine shops, from moms and pops machine shops to like large of course, large shops, and it's a big market, big industry, but it's all hard stuff. It's a lot of the hard working people there, and we just need to appreciate, because everything that we see around, from the planes to, like, this little stuff, it's
Right.
all machined. It's all machined. So yeah, I mean, amazing industry to me still. So yeah.
So how do you go from the hardware side of things to becoming CEO at DigiFabster and diving into software?
Yeah, so I mean, I originally started in software, of course. Then I was really excited about 3D printing specifically. I think it was 2012, around that time. Around the time when it was the Shapeways, rise of the Shapeways at that time, of
Rise of
course.
the Shapeways, sure.
Rise of the Shapeways, exactly. So I was amazed by everything. But again, I always looked at the manufacturing through the lens of the software, and something that I was amazed about 3D printing also was through the software for some reason. Yeah, so that was and again, that's why, the coding and stuff like that. Because again, like, I had always had a passion about the marketing, of course, in e-commerce specifically. And when you're combining those specifically, for example, in the Shapeways, I think they actually shaped the way to the e-commerce that we know now. And that was amazing, amazing things that, again, you can still get the same experience, e-commerce experience, and of course manufacture actual stuff, actual real parts. So that was something that really, this mix was something that was amazing for me. And yeah, so that was starting point for me. Yeah, we ran the shop for, I think, 6 years, and this shop still exists, of course, still using DigiFabster. Yeah, so it was a time when, again, I think the first, I don't know, 10, maybe not 10, I think like 50 orders that I delivered myself, of course. So we printed all that stuff,
Sure.
delivered to the customers, and we print everything from like just small figures to actually super large, like architectural, just things that we printed and assembled, of course. So it was amazing. It was amazing, of course. But again, I always have this passion about software, and it was always kind of leaning me towards software, and still it is. So that's why I love it. Yeah.
Do you
So-
see the same divide that we do of, whether it's additive manufacturing or traditional with CNC and sheet metal or injection molding? You have this old school way of working off of whiteboards still, but you need to bring it into the 21st century to streamline quoting, project management, facilitating design changes back and forth. It's like, it seems like there's a gap for some reason, and I don't know if you've experienced that gap as well.
Partially, yes. So in our case, especially in the early days of 3D printing was a thing that at that time no one understand fully, of course, like benefits and capabilities of 3D printing. And we were in a position, again, we're a new shop, and we somehow need to explain this new technology to new customers and basically get new customers. And the only way that we found for ourselves to explain is through the simplicity of the order process, basically. So again, I think at the time we're providing of course, 3D printing service, basically because CAD model is, the starting point for everything. So we're providing this as the separate service. And then, of course, our thing was the simple interface where the person without any experience, not only with production, not only with 3D printing, but specifically with production at all, can actually place the order. So we had to brute force this stuff that people just don't understand at all. And the only possible way for us at that time, I think, was just for simplicity. Just simplify everything and provide customers with a experience that they used to. And it's e-commerce. It's something even like 10 years ago, you already kind of experienced, so you know how to place the order at Amazon, and a similar websites. So we basically brought the same thing into manufacturing originally. So that was the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's purchasers who don't know what's going on, but also from their perspective don't have the time to. If you're a large corporation and you have engineers submitting parts to you and saying, go get a quote for me, you're not going to sit down and read an engineering drawing and become an expert on it. You're going to pick up stuff along the way, but more oftentimes than not, you need a part, you probably need it yesterday, and you don't need somebody asking you 1,000 questions. So e-commerce provides a really good platform for you to hop on, get that quote, get multiple quotes most likely, and then get your part in hand and to the end customer or to whatever you're using it for internally. So yeah, I don't think manufacturing can scale without a solution that's digital at this point.
I think so too. I think so too. But when it comes to the any software solutions, we always in the sort of in the position where it is either the painkiller or the vitamin, right? So we always in this position, and it's not always very clear definition. Like, are we a painkiller or we are a vitamin? Because again, it's really depends on the stage of the business. Or for example, like in our case with our customers, with machine shops and 3D printing organizations. So it really depends on the stage and scale of the business where they can treat the solution like DigiFabster or COAM as the vitamin or as a painkiller. So if you reach the level where you have like overwhelmingly a lot of the business that's coming in, yes, it's going to be the painkiller. So you're just looking for the painkiller. If you're not there yet, so it's going to be kind of a vitamin, but a necessary one, I guess, because once you hit this level when it's a real pain, it may be, I'm not saying it's maybe too late, but why not to starting to take vitamins slightly earlier before it become a pain. So that's my point. Basically, that's something that happened. And again, like, I mean, we through the like last 7 years, we work with so many shops, like tons of the shops, not only from the US, of course, but all around the globe, with a very different scale of the shop, from very small, like 2-people operation to like very large 100-people operations, of course. I can confidently say that we definitely see the shops that grew from like couple people and couple machines to really dozens of them using DigiFabster, I mean, not DigiFabster specifically, but just the software.
Of the tool, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's definitely possible. But at the same time, of course, we experienced a lot of the customers that, they tried that and failed. And I can understand. I absolutely can understand why, because again, I think it's really depends on your goal, right? So, and how fast you actually push yourself to, to get to this goal. So, if you're committed to grow the shop, I mean, you will definitely hit the point, I think earlier than later. You hit the point where you need this painkiller. You need the software to automate the stuff. You need the software to streamline stuff. If you're not committed enough, I think in a lot of the cases, so you maybe just don't need a solution as of now, because again, we just experienced both of the sides of that. So,
well, I was about to say, you said painkiller or vitamin, and I think there's a third option where, regardless of the industry, whether it's manufacturing or anything else nowadays, people just think, I can throw software at it, or I could hire 50 more salespeople and that equals this. And there's a lack of understanding about what you're investing in or what benefit that's going to bring you. And so when do people need to sit down and how do they evaluate what software is relevant and what software is healthy past that point? Because sometimes people get things that they don't need. And so, like you said, if they're not growing or if they're in a comfortable spot, it might not make sense to do something like this. But I think people get my point in saying all of this is that software becomes overwhelming, even more so in an urgent industry like manufacturing, where you need parts yesterday and something's always on fire. And so taking the time to sit down and evaluate what's actually going to help and what's going to hurt is a skill set that, while seemingly should be simple, I think a lot of people lack that. And certainly myself have experienced that too. So I don't know if you would agree or disagree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, in our business, we also try the multiple solutions, to automate, some of the stuff that we want to automate, of course. And some of them wasn't good enough. No, they was good enough. It just wasn't the right timing for us. And in a lot of the cases, it's all about the timing. Like maybe now it's not the best time to, because again, like I think the key point here is when you the new software for your business, the timing needs to be just spot on. It's really important, because I mean it means that you need to plan that. It's not something that you go to the grocery store and it's something like because you just want to ice cream or something.
But that's how people treat it.
I agree.
You go buy $250,000 worth of machines, $2 million worth of machines. Sometimes if you're outfitting an entire shop floor, and then the software is the afterthought of, oh, crap, I guess I need to go get something.
I just
And
forget at the
yeah,
checkout. I
like
just forget to put
exactly,
something in my basket. So
exactly. So how do you educate people to get them to see the significance of software? I think at face value, people understand I need software to run this thing, insert whatever the thing is. But to actually sit down and understand what efficiencies are required to run that thing and what is going to be essential, yeah, there seems to be an educational gap for me from buyers.
I agree. And this is how we work as well, of course. Because again, so especially in those days now, I mean, this is how I evaluate the, software options that I have, that I have for my business. So of course I reading a lot. Of course I, do the, jumping in the demo, like, just want to learn as much as possible because before I make a decision. And I think now we all responsible for creating enough educational content to support this customer journey or customer discovery, I guess, right? That everyone goes through, because without that, it can be a blind decision, let's be honest. And I think at the point where it's not door-to-door sales kind of thing. It's really everything starts with this discovery phase, and this discovery phase need to be supported with enough content, with enough materials that people can read, that people can of course compare solution to solution, benefits, and just take some time to of course to go through it. That's important. Without that, yes, we can see a lot of the cases where it is the almost emotional purchase or something like that. Okay, so hit hit the buy now button, and yeah, I now I have a software. I don't know how
Right.
to use it. I don't know how to implement it. I don't know when I have a time to do
But I
it.
have it.
But I have it. Exactly. So it's weird because software is not cheap at all. But this is how it works too in B2B.
Do you think we're living in a world of information overload where buyers are more informed than ever, not only on the hardware side of things, but
Mhm.
specifically like we're talking about on the software side too? And so they have all this access to knowledge, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to sift through that and make some of those decisions. Feel like I'm sitting here ripping on the buyers. Buyers, you're very informed, and I love you, and you're a lot smarter than me in most cases. But it just seems like there's a lot of solutions out there, and evaluating those solutions is part of the common challenges that both Const and I face in our respective roles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely understand that. I mean, people busy with their business. It's clear, especially in machine shops. You're like 100%, 140% time, busy with the stuff that's going on in your shop, and to have some free time to explore the benefits, the old, like everything about the software. That's not always the case. You just maybe don't have don't have enough time to do that. And it's a big question how, I mean, we can provide with the content, we can provide with all the possible support, but it also down to like, do you have enough time to just evaluate all the options, evaluate the product? And that's the thing. I mean, everyone understands that they need to do so. And that's why, again, that's I think why we also see like a lot of the sort of the delays in the purchases now, because people, yes, they taken the time to evaluating, which is a good thing, of course.
Sure.
Even though we all want to push the sales, it's clear as well. But it's a necessary thing. It's definitely a necessary thing. So whatever we can do to not even accelerate this process, but fill the gaps and maybe, I don't know, like influence the decisions, it's not the right thing. But what we're doing, I mean, in B2B, yes, you're partially influencing some of the things, of course, and that's okay. I think that's okay. It's just needs to be very transparent and just be very fair. Like you exactly treat your solution, your competitor's solution. It should be like that. So I think that's fair. It should be fair.
Yeah, I think people, for lack of better words, have a pretty good BS meter at this point. And so, like you said, influencing may not be the right word, but I think transparency and trust go a lot further with buyers nowadays. Of, look, here's my solution. If it helps you, awesome. I will help solve your problems and assist you wherever I can. If this isn't what you're looking for, then there's no harm in passing right now. But a quick no sometimes is better than a long drawn out yes that might not be
Yeah.
something that somebody needs. And so building those relationships and being transparent and being honest about how you're helping or what your solution can do, whatever that might be, I think is paramount to part of the process right now.
I completely agree. And I think the key thing here is definitely building the trust. And again, yes, we living in the world where a lot of the things, 90% of the things is remote now, and that's okay. Again, we all want to, have a free time. We all want to have, just space. But the thing is, like, especially in the B2B, I think to build the trust, probably to share your expertise, that's where you just need to double down. Share your
Yes.
expertise, be there when the customer ready to buy, or at least consider be his expert for this particular topic. Like, and again, this is it, I'm just reflecting my experience as well. Of course, I following a lot of the founders, a lot of CEOs, of course, of different companies that I like or I considering using their product in the future, and I following them for very long time, years. I'm talking about years, of course, and that's partially how I started to kind of building the trust first with their expertise. Again, I don't know them personally, of course. I don't know how they do the business, with the customers, but at least I can see, okay, so they're experts in the field. They also sharing some knowledge that help me to make some decisions even before I purchase the software. That's important. Again, that's important. And again, that's the expertise that I'm expecting to get from it. And then at the point when I'm finally ready, so I already know who I'm going to, to talk to. Because again, that's the person that I'm following. Now I can have a conversation with him and make sure and just, it's checking the boxes and just, I have a last box to check, of course. And that's where it comes. So I think that's now basically the feature of the LinkedIn, of X, YouTube, and some other platforms where with leaders, with sales leaders, just founders, CEO, sharing the expertise, sharing the knowledges, and building this trust with potential buyers. And I think that's going to be the most efficient channel for at least some years. Again, we don't know what will happen in next 2, 3, 4 years, of course, but at least for this period, it will be like that, I guess. So, and I think it's good. It's good. It's a lot of work as always, but again, that's naturally how you build the trust. Yes, remotely. Yes, it's not the same thing as you can to your neighbors and sell them something and build the trust for that. But this is almost, again, LinkedIn and other platforms just give us a platform now to do that remotely. So I think that's the natural way now to.
Yeah, and clearly companies are being successful with it. So I would agree.
Yeah. So another interesting thing that I think you mentioned a couple times. So especially in your case with, again, you, of course, with your customers, you probably seeing a lot of the situations where, shops overwhelmed with stuff. And by that, I mean different equipment, different softwares, of course, so pieces of the software. And they need somehow to manage all of that, manage the processes, manage the different printers, machines, maybe software as well, processor and stuff like that. And they are, in a lot of the cases, sort of on the edge. Okay, so what we're going to do? Should we invest in some solution or should we go and develop, something in-house? So what's your take on this?
Yeah, that's half my conversations every single day sitting around that. Could you outsource the software and we help you out, or is it something that they could just have a dev team internally tackle? And I'm not doubting your dev team's capabilities. If you have an internal business unit that can handle all that and you want to go for it, you know what? Who am I to tell you how to run things? However, more often than not, if expertise in a setting is hardware and manufacturing and you want to make good parts, I think you should focus on making good parts. I think when you tackle trying to do both the hardware and the software, you've now split your attention, you split your efficiencies, you split your expertise, and you're going to end up half-assing two things for lack of better words there. And so pick a lane and stay in it and do that thing better than anybody else. And if that's hardware, then make the best dang parts possible and get them to people at an affordable rate and in a timely fashion. So if you want to be successful at that, then from what I have seen, more often than not, you're probably going to need to partner with somebody on the software side of things. And that's why we work with a lot of OEMs. I think they've realized we make the machine. We make a very good machine. Our machine makes very good things, but we don't want to try to be Apple and create this interface and lock people into using that. And that's what we see. It's not that companies out there are buying 15 different pieces of software. It's that they're forced to have 15 different pieces of software. And so even if a solution like ours or somebody else comes along and wants to interface and streamline all of that into a centralized platform, we still have the challenge of, will the OEMs open the other systems up? And maybe I keep saying OEMs, this can be ERPs, CRMs, PLMs, insert any three-letter acronym that exists within manufacturing right now. Everybody's just, there's a lack of willing to play together and to centralize this data. And I don't see how the industry, 3D printing and specifically as a whole, is going to be able to grow until we learn to play nice with each other. Because you're going to have a lot of stagnant companies that hit a ceiling pretty quick, and then everybody's too stubborn to share the potential that is out there.
It's very interesting because I clearly see some of the similar thing in the other industries. So, for example, let's think about HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive, like CRM systems, right? So I can't recall any company that will say, instead of use HubSpot or Salesforce, we will develop our CRM system.
Right.
I can't recall a one, right?
Because I don't want to tackle it.
Because it's just ginormous. It's just almost impossible to do because, again, you will need to throw all possible resources into that, like clearly 100%. And it's interesting, like obviously HubSpot, Salesforce, of course, it was a very long way to be where they are now, of course, establish this position, and not only this position, but just be at that level of the product that they are now, of course. Yeah, it was like 15 years, 20 years, whatever. It was a long time for sure. But eventually it happened, and now no one thinking about to do anything like that. So with large manufacturers and even small manufacturers that you just mentioned, that some of them again deciding to like, okay, let's build our own, let's develop our own in-house system. So I think it's all about also like about the picking your battle, basically, because again, so like if we're talking about manufacturing specifically, I mean, it's very, very clear that your core thing is actually manufacturing, right? Manufacturing parts. That's your key thing. That's your core thing, not the software. Absolutely not the software, for sure. And I mean, we can see it other examples of other industries, of course. Like I don't know, like we just chat a bit about the Formula One. So in Formula One, it's very so Formula One is also like partially for I don't know, at least 50%. It's a manufacturing business, right? So they manufacture cars, and for the rest, for the software. Well, I mean, of course, they partner with the same companies like SAP and other companies. For sure, they not develop software themselves. Like maybe another example, so like SpaceX, or for example, they're very famous to do, or maybe not the SpaceX, but Tesla, for example, right? So they're famous for do a lot of the manufacturing in-house. Maybe not a lot, but pretty much everything in-house. Because again, that's the key thing. Software too, in their case. But again, it was their decision to have this ecosystem, pretty much like Apple again, because that's, I mean, it's ideal. It's probably ideal, but you would need to have just enormous amount of resources, and not on the day one. It will happen like after, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years or more. And I mean, you will need to monetize both of the sides. It's not like we're actually our commercial site is on manufacturing. It's manufacturing, and software is just we're just spending the money on software, and that's it. So you have to monetize the software as well. So you just can't keep spend money on the software and being your key competence in manufacturing, because again, it will eventually will bring you to the position like, okay, so actually software is too costly for us. Making the software in-house is just too costly for us. And again, that's my point basically. If you have no plans to monetize the software, it's no point to develop everything in house. Really, no
Agreed.
point. So
Agreed. Yeah, we see the same thing. So
yeah, I think it's important to mention, because again, we're not like blindly saying, okay, you have to purchase the software. It just makes sense to partner with someone, because again, I think I intentionally use the word partner with someone, because it's not about just, with the good companies, it's not about just purchasing their software. It's partnering with them, because again, so when you partner with someone, yes, you're expecting more than just, access to the software, right? You're expecting a lot of the collaboration, of course, and that's, I think, the best thing that they can do. So we are all in the business of the relationships, and also, of course, always willing to collaborate with people, collaborate with customers, of course. It's not just we just selling something out of the box and like, okay, then you're just alone, with
but that
without software.
happens, right? Do you see that
It
out there nowadays? Where
I
it's, here's your software, have a good day, and
I do.
then I just spent $50,000 on this, and it half works half of the time,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's actually going on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with the key phrase partnering there of, hey, I gave you a tool. I want to teach you how to use that tool. I want to make sure that tool is building you something that can last and that you're happy with that tool. And so what that looks like is sitting down, establishing KPIs with people, setting expectations early on, and making sure that they set them with us as well. And so yeah, that it's no longer here's the software, have a good day.
Mhm.
It's what is this going to look like at month 3, month 6, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and understanding people's ability to scale and grow. Scale is a buzzword often,
Yeah.
but that's the goal, right? You're a business, you want to grow, and manufacturing, that means adding more machines, that means adding more technicians and training people. So how do I go out there and evaluate a system that is agile enough to accommodate those things? And how do I partner, if I'm outsourcing that software side of things, how do I partner with that software solution
Yeah.
to make that successful and easy?
Yeah, and I think maybe we are, as a software companies, need to be clear about what exactly customers paying for, right? So when we mentioning the word partnering, we really mean it. We really mean it. We really mean it, partnering with us. And this is something that I guess maybe was overused as the word, and again, maybe it was had like the wrong definition, what exactly we mean by partner with someone, of course.
It's an ambiguous term. Yeah, a lot
Yes.
of people have a different meaning with it.
So I guess we need to be clear on that, and not even through the just marketing messaging, but through the actual work, showing exactly what do we mean by partner with the customers, what exactly we provide, what exactly support, what exactly basically to the level of the feature requests and stuff like that, what exactly they will expect. Because again, so I'm pretty sure you experienced this as well. So sometimes, yes, customers treat the software as, okay, we just really buying the piece of software like the calculator, for example, not the solution, but basically a feature, just a feature. And yes, that's it. And I can understand why they think like that. I can understand it, again, because if their previous experience was buying the software that, yes, someone sold the software and then just, okay, so I'm good.
Right.
This is your software, just use it. That's it. So in B2B specifically, and in manufacturing, so it doesn't mean that. It means we literally partner with the customers and providing all possible, not even the support, but all our expertise to make sure that software work for you, like on every single step, of course, and benefit your business. And again, this is something that I just recently listened to some podcast. I think it was there's the company called Service Titan, great company. So they are based here in Glendale, in California. So they serving mostly, the commercial and not in the residential businesses as well, like HVAC and stuff like that. Again, with the CRM software and, operational software. And founder said that the way how they approach the customers is always through literally like breaking down ROI for them, like what exactly our goal when you purchase our solution, what exactly our goal to like what ROI you would expect, like with the numbers, of course, and everything. And basically our pricing based on that. So you're paying this to get that much of the ROI. You can pay less to get and our pricing will reflect that. That's the very fair thing to be upfront with the customers. So again, because their expectations needs to be, okay, so we're purchasing software for, let's say, $10, but we're expecting value of $100. And that's okay. That's exactly why again, they purchase the software. So that's something I think all software companies, and again, including ourselves, of course, needs to be clear upfront with the customers. And just again, be very clear of the word partnering with the customers. What does it mean exactly? And what includes into that actually. So yeah.
Yeah, but if you're a buyer nowadays and you're looking at a software solution, whatever that might be, I think software companies throw out the word ROI and time savings pretty loosey-goosey at this point. And there's not a whole lot of value tied to those. And I think there needs to be some level of accountability or calling people out there of, all right, you bought software, I saved you time. Great. Can you equate times to an actual dollar amount? Because, sometimes, all right, I bought software and now my engineer saved 3 hours a week. Great. But I didn't fire that engineer. I still have to pay his full salary. And so can we go deeper and say, all right, with 3 extra hours a week, he's able to get out X amount more jobs on average equal this. And that level of ROI and granularity isn't really available with some software companies. And so that's a big part of the trust, is so many solutions out there to evaluate and see. And so we're talking about building a relationship. I think buyers just don't trust a lot of what they see out there. So to put a hard number to it, to hold their hand, be their friend, not be a jerk, understand their needs, and actually show time savings, dollar amounts, and the benefit that's coming from all of those things, I think is crucial to our buying process, at least.
I agree.
That was a random rant, but yeah.
No, I completely agree. Of course. Again, so in a lot of the cases, it's a lot of upfront work, to work through the ROI, to be clear with numbers, of course. But I think this is maybe a necessary thing. And again, so maybe it's not in all the cases will be like clear numbers, but I mean, dollar amount, for example, maybe it will be just, just hours.
A range.
It can be range that, it can be equal to dollars, of course. But again, something that I think, and again, because we talked about we talked a lot about the customers, how they and why they decided to build in-house something or not trust. So from our side, from the software side, I agree, we need to be much clearer on that, and with very not accurate numbers, but at least be very transparent what exactly the benefits we see. Maybe providing some examples, of course, with other customers. It's not always 100% equal to their own business, this customer own business, but at least it is something that can use as an example. So so in this situation could be those numbers. So I think it's important for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about that. So one other topic that I want to touch, of course, again, it's related to the e-commerce and the state of e-commerce and manufacturing specifically. So you had experience, of course, working for different companies, and we have a lot of the customers that come to us and say, okay, so I actually want to beat Xometry, for example, or I want to beat Protolabs, or I want to beat like whatever other marketplaces, or just the manufacturers that have a huge online presence, right? So they just, so how we can beat them, of course. And it's not always, in most of the cases, it's not always what we can do for them. Because again, so if you don't have insights into how, other companies exactly build the pricing around the technologies, you can't clearly, it's not like apples to apples at all. It's just very, very different. And when you don't have any insights in how other companies operate and what they use in the operation, so it's not right comparison, of course. But at least for us, it is the indicator that, obviously they experience in competition with the guys like Xometry and others, and they're looking for the solution, which is good for us, of course. But again, it's also is timing is right for them or not? Because again, they can see, Xometry, I don't know, like big company, of course, getting a lot of the orders, a lot of the business, winning a lot of the businesses. But you can't compare, and you shouldn't compare yourself being small shop to Xometry, because again, it's just completely offset. It's completely different level of the operation and everything. And instead of, and again, it's more to like picking up your battles, right? So it's better for you not to focus on competition at all, especially in the early days, but instead is really building your core value, of course, of your business, of how you approach the customers, how you approach the business, how you approach the pricing and stuff like that. So, but what was your experience with companies like Xometry and the customers, for example, that I'm pretty sure also comparing themselves to the Xometry, to the other, maybe also experience the competition with them. So what's your take on that?
Xometry is funny because it's the perfect fusion of tech and manufacturing. Because at its core, Xometry is not a manufacturing company. They're a software company that happens to outsource a lot of the work, which happens to be manufacturing. And I think Xometry is Xometry, Protolabs, insert any of these service bureaus out there that are doing this. I'm using Xometry as an example because I worked there for a little bit. It's convenient, right? When you need a quote, and in manufacturing, like I said earlier, more often than not, you need a part and you need it yesterday and you need it to be good quality. And so when you go to these mom and pop shops and it takes 3 weeks to get a quote because they don't have pricing rules, or it's working off of an Excel sheet, or you've only got 3 quoters, Xometry is winning a lot of that business because you can upload your part and you can get a price, and they're not going to make the hassle of finding somebody on the back end your problem. They give you a quote and then they go do the legwork for you. And so if you're a small mom and pop shop or one of these 20,000 places in the US that is trying to compete with those, don't overcomplicate it. Price, lead time, quality. If someone comes to you, get them a quote as fast as possible. Get them a part that they can trust, and they'll come back to you. It's not rocket science at that point. Just be agile enough to focus and stay in your lane on, I know I can CNC the best dang part possible. Great, go CNC the crap out of some stuff right now. As long as your customer focus in the sense of communicating with them expectations on timelines, quality, and price, then you're going to be winning that business and you're going to be successful. Are there tools that can come alongside you to make you successful in those areas? For instance, Xometry has the instant quoting platform. Could you go with somebody like Digifapster to have your own customer-facing portal where you can instant quote parts? Could you come along with somebody like us to have things automated and streamlined on the back end? Absolutely, and those are tools in your belt that you should utilize. But at the core of it, if you're making parts out there today and you want to beat somebody like Xometry, don't overcomplicate it. Just focus on the customer and creating your good parts and communicating with them in a timely manner and getting them price and lead time. Because that's what it comes down to is, yep. I need this part. I need it yesterday. What's it going to cost? Here's your answer. Have a good day. And I think a lot of people could be more successful if they narrowed their scope of what they want to accomplish down to something like that.
I think it's essential. Because I'm pretty sure you experience the same thing here. When you, for example, you want to produce something just maybe for yourself, I don't know, like something out of the wood, I don't know, like let's just cut the wood for something or you know. And I mean, in a lot of the cases, first time what I do, I just go and find local shop that can do it for me. Not even like Xometry, like, you know, other. I really want to work with local businesses. That's my intention for sure. But then the problem is that, again, I you know, found a couple shops, of course, you know, and yes, manually sending them inquiry. Okay, so guys, I need 10, you know, pieces of wood with a, you know, laser engraving or something like that, right? And then the problem is, yes, I'm waiting 4 days just to get a response. I don't want to use this word, but it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because, again,
absolutely,
I want to work with you. I want to give my money. So please, like, respond on time. That's essential. And you don't need the software for that, right? I think really everything starts with how you treat the customers and how you run the business. And again, if someone wants to do business with you, you have to be very responsive. It's essential thing. It's really like baseline. Just be very extremely responsive. So it can't be couple days. It just can't be. Just can't be. That's it. Again, especially when we're talking about small businesses. So, and that's why, yes, okay, so let's assume very busy with the orders, which is good for small business, obviously. Okay, so that's definitely a point where it's a time to, maybe purchase some solution for the quoting, maybe. So
Right.
it's only the point where, yes, you're overwhelmed with the customers, with the orders, but you don't want to lose the new customers, right? Just don't want, of course, you want to build more business, of course. So I think that's something that's important. And again, you don't necessarily need to start with the instant quoting or the quoting, of course. Same true for the production management. So of course, it's not something that you need to do on a day one. So I know a lot of the very successful shops that still, yes, they not only run quoting on the spreadsheet, but also production also on spreadsheets, or maybe, some gun charts or stuff like that. And that's fine. That's completely fine. If it really works for you, why not? It's extremely, extremely, extremely important to be responsive. It's something that really, just help your business. No, it's just essential. So that's
I think software should enhance your customer service. It should not replace it altogether. So yes, you can operate off of Gantt charts and whiteboards, and that works. There's a ceiling to that, and that's when software becomes useful, right? You're not going to be able to scale and respond to everybody in an efficient manner, like which we just discussed is crucial to winning business and growing and being successful in this field. So just don't use software as the end all be all. Use it as a tool in your belt to always help the customer. And so if you've hit that ceiling and you found that you're not able to respond to customers in a timely fashion, then it's time to start looking at solutions like ours or anything else in the market right now. It's going to help you, again, respond to the customer in a timely fashion, get them parts in a timely fashion, or anything else that's just going to help their experience along the way. But we live in an age where buyers operate largely off of convenience, and they're more informed than ever. Their demands are higher than ever because of places like Amazon or Xometry or anything else where they know they can go click a button and get a part, and that's super easy and convenient for them, and they're not going to go back to the way it was beforehand. So whatever platform or shape or form that takes for you to be customer facing and make their life as easy as possible, I think that's what's going to make companies successful out there. Selfishly, you and I hope it's our software that helps them do that. But ultimately, if we disappear tomorrow, I think people need to keep the customer at the forefront of their minds when developing these solutions or partnering with solutions like ours.
I agree. And again, this is our takes on that, of course, on how we see some of the struggles that machine shops going through now, of course. But something, and I think it's a good segue to that. So I think something that we would love to hear from the customers, from the shops, of course, from the prospects, just what exactly top of your mind now? Is it really things related to the to equipment that you need to purchase and then need to utilize 100%? Maybe it's some issues with maintenance, stuff like that, or maybe it's business operational topics related, maybe it's automation, maybe something else. So it's something that we would love to get feedback on, of course, and just be very, have the very open discussion about that. So we, myself and Alex, of course, we want to have another session like a webinar or something like that, where we can have as many guests as possible and just have this live discussion, like live discussions where what's top of your minds, what struggles you're going through now, and again, what us as a software companies, what we can do to to maybe not completely, of course, solve all of that, but at least help on the areas when it's possible. So again, this is something that we are going to announce, I guess, the webinar, of course, and the links. We will share it on the social media, and we would love to have as many people as possible, shop owners, operators. So
we can't fix what we don't know, right? And that's why I talk to customers constantly and try to understand their aches and pains, but there's more out there that we don't understand, and it's not going to get solved unless a conversation is held around it and unless people come together and actually centralize some of those concerns. So we want to hear from you. So please come.
Absolutely. And so at the end, something that I just wondering and just would love to hear your thoughts on that, of course. So what do you think, and again, so 3D printing was here for a very long time now, like 30 years probably. It had its peaks and downs, of course, but what's your expectations, right? What's your expectations, yeah, specifically on additive manufacturing and next big things that, will happen to the industry, and it's overall on the manufacturing. Do you foreseeing, is it going to blend into the, general manufacturing, or it will still will be separate thing that, just obviously on application side, people will be picking up. So what's your thoughts on
I
that?
think most people's hopes in the industry is that it gets adopted widely enough to where it could be blended with general manufacturing and become a production tool, and people purchase, hundreds of machines, or we develop machines that are faster at cranking out parts. I think there's a lot of barriers before that's a possibility, though. With traditional manufacturing, CNC in particular, which I keep mentioning, there are systems in place to evaluate parts, and there are standards and processes where people can make parts and companies accept those, and those parts are validated for in-field use for the next 50 years. People, corporations in particular, are less willing to adopt 3D printing. They'll invest in it on an R&D front, and maybe for a small percentage of their components dabble with some production level stuff, but it's not going to be wide scale until some of these processes and standards are in place to evaluate these parts, and nobody can agree on what those processes and standards are. So there's almost a bit of a stalemate of, we know the technology works, we know it's really cool, we know it handles complex designs really well, we know there's a ceiling to how much we can produce before it makes sense to going back towards something like injection molding. But yeah, a conversation needs to be, the conversation's happening, a decision needs to be made on, do we accept this as a formal form of technology in manufacturing or not?
Right.
It's kind of that simple to me. The other issues and things that I see kind of the next few years, I think you have a lot of OEMs out there right now that are more or less creating the same machines and just smacking a different sticker on the outside of it. And so we're just inundated with a bunch of technologies right now that honestly aren't different technologies. So I think we're going to see a level of consolidation where some of those shops and OEMs are either going to die out or get bought up by some of the bigger players. And then obviously it's an election year, so spending is all across the board. People are just kind of anxiously awaiting to see where money's going to be spent. So we're in a bit of a lull right now. So consolidation, anticipation for what government spending is going to allow, and yeah, I just a general acceptance for the technology. I would love to see standards be put in place so that we can take off like we know it can. I think 3D printing is you obviously dabble a little bit more in traditional manufacturing, and us so specifically with 3D printing, but it's such a niche community, and everybody there is so passionate about it, and everybody completely understands the application for it, and wants to see it succeed and knows that it can succeed. And we're just screaming at the top of our lungs for people to adapt it. And so there's an underlying level of excitement and anticipation there, but yeah, there's some hurdles that we're gonna have to get through first before any of that becomes a reality.
Yeah, I agree. Specifically on the standards, of course. Again, we see a lot of the applications on the lower scale, like again, Formula One, like even the airlines industries. Yes, we know that they already use 3D printing for some small scale stuff, of course, some small parts, of course. But again, obviously they limit it with the standards, with with limitations, of course. That of course it's limitations are there. They need to be there, obviously, especially when we're talking about like civil aviation and stuff like that. But it's happening. It's just very slow, and it's definitely, I think, something that will need to change on the regulation side to have this wide adoption of the technologies. And yeah, I would agree that at the same time we see more and more manufacturers of equipment, 3D printers, for example, that opening the doors, new businesses, and it makes things harder to to pick the right equipment, right printer. And yeah, so this is something. And again, I think it's naturally will happen. The consolidations, M&A, and stuff like that will eventually, maybe we will have less vendors, less manufacturers, but it will be more standardization, of course. That again, because we're talking about manufacturing, it's really important for this field at least. So, but yeah, I agree. That's, I guess, the next frontier. Again, we hope that it will change sooner than later. But yeah, so fingers crossed for sure.
Well, even past that, how do we develop a system that can evaluate new technologies, whether it's 3D printing or a new type of 3D printing 2, 3, 5 years from now, so that we're not back at this same place? Because next year, someone's going to create something that's the latest and greatest, and it's going to be a new untested form of technology that nobody's going to trust, and they'll just do R&D parts with it, and it's not going to take off like it could. So how do we
True.
evaluate new manufacturing technologies and become agile enough to allow these to grow and for us to prosper ultimately in this field?
Yep. Yeah, agree. That's a good note. That's definitely a good note at the end. So yeah, cool. Thanks, Alex. It was awesome. It was
a lot of
awesome to
fun.
talk to you, of course. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I'm
For
not
sure,
sure
for
when the webinar is going to be. Should be early fall at some point, but I'm sure when we
Yeah.
have those details, we can let everybody know and have a more relaxed or formal discussion with
Yep.
partners and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully after summer break, because a lot of the people taking summer break, especially
Sure.
in Europe, as we know. So-
Lucky Europeans.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Thank you so much. It was great.
Not a
Stay
problem.
tuned. Bye-bye.
See ya.